Hi, today we're continuing our discussion of what is the divine feminine. So I want to ask you really quickly, if I asked you to name 5 female heroes of yours, could you do that? Live ones, not Superwoman or Wonder Woman? What about 5 male heroes? The truth is, in our culture, women have often been completely overlooked. Medically, historically, politically, and we know that wages are unequal today. But even our names are often unsung. And if you're engaged in traditional activities of wifing, mothering, daughtering, neighboring, these are often not measured in the culture and therefore undervalued. And as women, we often struggle to name and validate our own worth because our accomplishments are not compensated or rewarded with a gold watch in our current culture. But one woman sought to overturn some of these things. So one of my heroes today is a gal named Max Dashu, who has created an entire kind of set of understandings and discoveries that she's compiling, so exhaustive, called Suppressed Histories. And really, she's saying that her goal is to restore women to cultural memory. And she is compiling everything from ancient figures to under-heralded shamanic practices and everything else. And this really speaks to the heart of the divine feminine. And why is that? Because as women, we understand, either through our life experience or through our gut that we already know, that we are the custodians of birth, life, and death. Now, certainly men fulfill traditional roles. They are dads and they are pallbearers at funerals and things like that. But the truth be told, when the phone call comes that someone has passed away, it is most likely a woman who's going to receive that call. It is the women who will figure out what to do with the body. It is the women who figure out end-of-life care. It is the women who go to the nth degree to figure out why their child isn't speaking, or why their child is limping, or why their child's allergies won't go away, or why their child has been just recently diagnosed with some sort of learning disability that they didn't have before. A woman is the custodian and curator of those lives around her. And because she has the most powerful emotional field, she really sets the tone for the quality of life that's being chosen for her family. And so many of these classic adages about a virtuous woman being more priceless than rubies are absolutely true, because the purity and the cultivation of the essence of a woman is the gift that emanates throughout her family. It's like a perfume that spreads in the household and uplifts and nourishes everyone. And people really kind of set their register by it. A mother, a woman, a wife becomes this informal arbiter of what is okay and not okay in the household. Now, we're not perfect, we're not saints, that's the problem. Women are being held up to incredible standards today to do it all, have it all, be it all, and of course we want to be all that we can be, but being all that we can be is not measured by how much and how many things we do. And that is the trap of contemporary culture today that actually burns women out, really rubs down the kind of gentleness of their aura, if you will, and causes all kinds of health complications that then also hamper the functioning of the family, as the woman needs to kind of rebuild her resources. And so the reason I want to speak to this today is because energy is the ultimate gift that we give people. We give them either our yucky, grudgy, resentful, complaining energy, or we give them our absolutely grit, spine in, determined, committed energy, or we give them our absolute, holy, devoted, dedicated, gentle, thorough, curing energy. There are many different forms of energy, but if we choose to do it all and be it all, we become scattered and everybody gets a very thin slice of what we have to offer. And then they start to feel kind of cheated. So this is why I really wanted to speak to this, is because the divine feminine is really about how a woman sits in her womb, and we don't even discuss it much in the culture. But the womb used to be a focal point of a lot of ancient art. So I encourage you to Google Max Statue, discover some of these hidden memories, and look into how you sit with your own womb. I'm not going to give you any tips today because this is really just an overview video, but I also wanted to touch into this notion of being the curators of death as well as life. Death is a very taboo topic in our culture, but there are 2 points that I really want to drive home about feminine understanding that really comes as a byproduct of our feminine cycles. The first point I want to make is that as an individual is preparing to die, there is an incredible spiritual opportunity for them to clear up harm from the past, regrets from the past, heal relationships before they say farewell, make amends, really do that important and deep reflection, because while we don't take our treasure with us, we do take our karma with us. So as we prepare to die, this is a great time in which particularly women, but not exclusively women, can simply hold presence for another and listen for the truth that wants to come up. Another way we can be curators in the course of death is to address frontally the topic that something is dying, that the energy that used to enliven it no longer is there. This happens in companies. This particularly happens in fashion, which makes it so easy to spot. But it also happens in an individual's life. And in current medical care, doctors, nurses, and all kinds of other support staff are compensated highly to avoid even contemplating removal of care. But oftentimes that's what needs to happen, and hospice is such a gift in that instance, because there is just this gentle removal and relief and release from pain, support, comfort, and the opportunity to support a soul in transition and really see them as kind of a hand that has occupied this glove body for a while and is now preparing to release. But the material of entanglements that we have had in life sometimes keeps us drifting in and out before we die, sometimes as a hope to conclude certain karmic patterns that need to be relieved. The second point I want to make is that, as I comically indicated earlier with fashion, some things die and they just cycle down, and then there's the renewal of energy. And this is another under-discussed topic in contemporary culture, but reincarnation is absolutely true. Today, we call it personal reinvention, or we call it sabbatical or walkabout, and it's not very easily tolerated in our culture. But really what it is that oftentimes we have the chance to walk away. I'll just use an example. We'll walk away from a job that you've done for 10, 20, 30 years, And you've learned all that you can learn from it, and then you begin to be stale. And the job begins to be stale. The people are stale. Everything needs fresh air. But until we're willing to acknowledge it and walk away, we stay in a stale place. Resentful, angry, whatever. But when we have the courage to let all of that energy go, all those relationships, all that commitment, all that time and attention that we have given to a particular role in life, and we let it die away, there is naturally kind of a grieving and reflection process. There's a disorientation and confusion process. But in the old days, in the matriarchal cultures, they used to say that the tomb is the womb. And this is such a vital point for us to recognize today. It simply means that the very container in which we kind of die down, like a bulb in winter, becomes the very vehicle of rebirth as we move forward. And vocalizing our intentions about how we want to reincarnate is a key facet of this reincarnation process. And we as women are so acquainted with the cyclical nature of life because we have menstrual cycles. And so we understand what it's like to be releasing and shedding at certain times all the time. Our days are not all equal. This does not make us non-rational or suspect creatures. It makes us wise creatures who are in touch with cycles of life and death. And this is why in the wiser cultures, the indigenous cultures, there were councils of grandmothers whose opinions were sought because choices made by the often male leaders had ramifications into the seventh generation. That's why we have this phrase, the sons of the father. So women with cycles who understand what it means to be custodians of life and death, who understand that everything is interrelated, are the wisdom keepers of our culture. Why is this so important today? And why am I going on and on about the divine feminine? Because our whole planet is also going through a growth crisis. So we're all in this evolutionary shift, and there's a lot of discomfort and disorientation right now. People don't know what they can hold on to. They hold on to stale jobs and they feel stale. They hold on to their bank accounts and their bank accounts just sit there. They hold on to their loved ones and their loved ones say, don't cling. So there's just a lot of clinging and uncertainty right now as the planet makes her shift. Why is it important for women to step into the divine feminine? Because right now is the time for us to listen intuitively for what wants to happen and what life is beckoning forth from us. This is how we become sacred co-creators with life. Now, I know that there's lots of mocking of people who ask the universe for this and that, but the truth is, what you ask for in your heart will come to you. Often not physical objects, but the qualities of experience and the qualities of movement through life and the qualities of being and the qualities of relating are what we need. And everything else can fall away. So you get the chance as the divine feminine to be the curator for yourself, the curator for your family, and the curator for your life until your family are old enough to make their own decisions. Anyway, that's all for today, but I just wanted to raise your awareness about this, the incredible depth and history and future of wisdom that is us. Thanks.